Last week, Reverend Shannon spoke so powerfully about dreams, about the power of dreams, and especially those dreams that are grounded in spiritual truth. She taught us that the spiritual principle behind dreams is transformation. And we're going to talk about that today. I have a story of transformation for you that I'm really excited to share. My family, we just got back from a dream vacation. As some of you know, our youngest son has muscular dystrophy, and his doctor looked at us about a year ago and said, because Alex has muscular dystrophy, you automatically qualify for a Make-A-Wish trip. Do you know about Make-A-Wish? The Make-A-Wish Foundation. Yes, amazing, amazing foundation. They give dream vacations to critically ill children. And I want you to think just for 1 minute about what it's like to be told you have a child that's so ill that they get a dream vacation. It's a blessing, and it's hard. As a mom, that was hard for me. And it is the fact of our life. It is the thing that we are living through right now. And oh my God, did we get a dream vacation. So we were sent, all expenses paid, in the most magical of ways. They put us on a flight. Alaska Airlines treated us like royalty. They sent us to Florida, where all of the, Florida is this hub of theme parks and entertainment. There's this really interesting thing that happened down there, thanks to Walt Disney, in large part. But there's Disney World, there's Universal, there's Legoland, there's SeaWorld, there's this reptile thing over there. I don't know anything about. There's Cape Canaveral, and we were told what you want to do, here are the tickets to any of that, anything. So we were there for 7 days, and because I live with Michael Ray Walker, we are a go kind of vacation family. I'm a sit on the beach kind of vacation gal, but I have not had that vacation in 23 years, and it is because of this man right here. We did it all. We did it all. In fact, I'm going to show you just a couple of pictures. Are you ready? Okay, John, are you ready? Okay, this is the girls. John didn't get to go because he had to work, unfortunately, so you won't see John in any of the pictures. This was Tron. Yeah, hold right there for a second, John. Me and my friend Devon, did you see how the girl, Faith was riding it like this? I was holding on so tightly that I gave myself blisters. Y'all, this thing was terrifying. Okay, Devon and I, we lived our best life for that 3-minute ride. We were not fans of the dinosaurs. I don't know if you can see Alex in the back seat. Dinosaurs were hard. That was a rough time for us. This is the children on the Haunted Mansion. Okay, how adorable are they? Then there's, it's okay to laugh. It's okay to laugh. I'd like to say that this was day 7. It was not. This was day 1 of our magical vacation. You're welcome. John, yeah. And then this. Do y'all know the story of Rapunzel and the wish lanterns? This is my wish kid on his wish vacation, looking at his favorite person, his sister Faith. And that's my favorite picture of the vacation. So that's just a little glimpse into the magic that is vacationing with the Walker family. But one of the most magical things about this vacation was the place where they sent us to stay. There's a resort in Kissimmee called Give Kids the World Village. Any of you heard of Give Kids the World? Okay. Give Kids the World Village is a resort of its own that is there just for the purpose of serving wish families. That's all they do. They have, they call them villas. They're duplexes and apartments. They have 166 villas that are 2 or 3 bedrooms. They feed you. They leave presents on the table every morning for the kids. They call every night. What do you need? What do you need? Is there anything you need? What are you doing tomorrow? What fun are you going to have with your family? And the whole setup is made so that families like mine can go and just make memories together. It's really beautiful. But man, this Give Kids the World Village is magic. I mean, it's so big and so important that Mickey Mouse comes to them once a week. We walked into breakfast one day and Darth Vader was standing by the coffee. And Boba Fett and whatever that muck thing, Jawa, I don't know. I was very brave and I had coffee anyway because I can't live without it. But I had to walk right by Darth Vader to get that coffee. Every week at Give Kids the World Village, they have a Halloween party, they have a Christmas party, and they have a birthday party. Because some of these kids aren't going to make it another year to experience those things. And they want every child to experience the most important things in a kid's life in the week that you're there. It's amazing, y'all. It's amazing. And the more time we spent there, the more I wanted to know, where did this magical place come from? I mean, it's an 89-acre campus that has served over 200,000 families since it opened in 1989. This is a big dream. This is a big thing that happened. So I got curious, and I found out about the founder, Henry Landworth, or as he came to be known after he came to America, Henry. I came to learn about Henry, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of Henry's story. Henry was born in Antwerp, Belgium in 1927 to Jewish parents. When he was 3 years old, they moved to Poland for a better life. And 10 years later, when Henry and his twin sister Margot were 13 years old, Hitler invaded Poland. I'm not going to tell you all of the details. You can find them on the internet if you're interested. His parents died pretty early in the war, and he and his sister were sent to the labor camps. And in the first one, they were in the same camp. And every day, at the same time, they would go to the wall that separated the men from the women. 13-year-old kids, y'all. They went to the wall, and he would whistle, and she would whistle back. And that's how he knew his twin was alive. But it wasn't too long before he was shipped off. He ended up being in 4 or 5 Nazi death camps, including Auschwitz. And in 1944, at the age of 18, he escaped Auschwitz, and he and 3 other prisoners, they were brought back. And as punishment, they were taken out to the woods to be killed. But one soldier leaned over and said, "When I raise my gun, run." And he did. And with gangrene and with a fractured skull, he escaped. He found an empty house outside of Prague, and he stayed there for it was 9 to 12 months until the war was over, and he was liberated. He did end up reuniting with his sister Margot eventually. She survived too, miraculously. 5 years these kids survived. Unfortunately, their parents didn't. Henry eventually made it over to America. He said he came to America with literally $20 and a Torah in his pocket. He landed in New York City and became a diamond cutter like his father before him. But he was pretty early on, he was drafted into the Korean War, and he was thrilled to serve his new country that had served him in his life. He got out of the Korean War safely, and he used the GI Bill to go into hotel management. And he ended up in Florida. And in Florida, they were in Cocoa Beach, which is right near Kennedy Center, Cape Canaveral, right, is there. And he was working at a hotel, and one day a man came in, and you know, back then, when we were fancy, us women, we had to wear gloves, and the men had to wear ties, right, in order to get into the hotel restaurant. And a man walked in, he didn't have his tie, he had forgotten his tie. So Henry, being Henry, he just took it off of his neck and gave it to the man. It turns out that was the guy who was helping to develop the Kennedy Space Center, and he was building a hotel called the Starlight Hotel. And within 3 weeks, Henry was managing that hotel, and that was the beginning of his career as a hotelier. He ended up opening several hotels, mostly with the astronauts who he became friends with. That Mercury 7 crew became very, very close friends with him because they all lived at the Starlight Hotel when they were training to go to space. And in fact, John Glenn took a Give Kids the World flag into space. Yeah, I saw it at the Village. It is so cool. It's so cool. Henry was the kind of person who just made friends everywhere he went. He never was a rich man, but he made everything happen with a handshake and a smile. That's what one of the Give Kids the World volunteers told me. By the way, Give Kids the World now is so large. They have 200 employees and 1,800 volunteers every year. So it's a huge thing that was built. When he was working in his hotels in Florida, he heard about the Make-A-Wish organization. Disney wasn't even building yet at this point in Florida. But he heard about Make-A-Wish, and a lot of Wish kids came because of the Kennedy Space Center there. And so he said, what can I do to help? And they said, you can give us places, just space in your hotels for Wish families. And he said, done. But that wasn't enough for him. And I wanted to know why. Why wasn't it enough to just do a little bit of good? Because that would have served hundreds, if not thousands of families, right? Why was that not enough for him? And what I eventually learned is that he made a promise to himself that a child, if he was able in any way to help, no child would lose their childhood the way he felt he had lost his. And it made me wonder about why in some of us pain bodies fester and we become bitter, we become fearful, we become angry, and why in some of us is there this magic of the soul that turns that pain body into something bigger, something better. And this is the question that I've been in for the last couple of weeks since we got home. And, you know, in order for you to really understand the magnificence of this man's heart, I want you to hear a little bit about it in his own words. John, will you roll that video?
My wish was to create a village. I never expected of anything like this to happen. In many cases, I see myself in these children's faces. Because when I was 13, I was a Holocaust victim. I had no idea that I would be living. These children have no idea in many cases. And I have experienced that myself. I came to the United States, I must have been 19, 20 years old. I trained myself in Belgium as a diamond cutter, and I got a job in New York cutting diamonds. Then, living here for about maybe 6 months in this country, I was drafted to the United States Army, and what I got out of it was far more than I could even imagine. I went on to GI Bill to school, and I started to work in a hotel, which was the Wellington Hotel in New York. And then I went back to Miami. From there, I became a manager of Starlight Hotel in Cocoa Beach. And at Starlight Hotel, all the Mercury 7 astronauts were there. I was their host, and I became very close with all of them, and they stayed in my hotels. It became a good friendship, a very wonderful friendship. That was a great time of my life. I felt that I needed to do something. I met the executive director of Make-A-Wish Foundation, and I told him that I'd like to help the families coming into this area. What would be the thing that they needed? And they said, we need a place for them to come. And I started to build a village for them, for the children. I started to build one villa first. As soon as I started that villa, I started other villa. And then I figured, well, as long as the going is so good, I might as well start 6 villas. It became 16 villas. I felt great. I felt wonderful. I couldn't do enough. I got so involved with this thing that I never wanted to leave this village. I just could not stop. I couldn't wait to come to this village every day. And I did that, I believe, 15 years. That was my life. When I walk around and I see the children and I see them smiling and running and having a great time, and it's just my heart lifts. I mean, it's a wonderful feeling. I like to believe that we are prolonging their lives. That's my real thought. Something happens to that child. Their little system is amazing. There is something in me that I believe in what I'm doing here for sure. And I wouldn't want it to change that for 1 second. When I'm gone, this is still the life. We had a promise to ourselves that we never turn down a child. And we will not turn down a child, ever, as long as we're here. There's something here that makes it happen. And there must be God is right here in this village.
It must be God, he said. God is right here in this village. Well, my suggestion is that it's because God in him showed up. He brought God to the village, right? Landworth created Give Kids the World the Village in 1986 to fulfill his long ago promise to one day prevent children from missing out on childhood. So why? Why did that heart turn to gold? That's a pure gold heart. I was listening to Reverend Shannon's talk last week, and she said something about the alchemy of spirit. And I've been thinking about that phrase all week. Isn't alchemy that thing that was supposed to take the ordinary stuff and turn it into gold? Well, isn't it the alchemy of spirit that took this great pain body and turned it into pure gold? Alchemy, it turns out, turned a good man into a difference maker. And that same divine activity that happened in Henry Landworth is happening in us. It's happening in you right here and right now. There is something within you that even now is transforming pain into empathy, fear into love, Places where you may have been closed down are being turned into opportunity. And just as Reverend Shannon taught us last week, that our dreams fire our potential and give it form, in just the same way, this alchemy of spirit, it takes the life that you lived, the lessons that you learned, the pain you have endured, and it turns it into opportunity. You are opportunity. The talk today is called The Magic and the Mystery. This alchemy of spirit is magical, and it is mysterious, but it is also the most clear and simple thing. What I have learned is that when we surrender to love, love changes us. There must be God in it, he said. God is right here in the village. Last week, Reverend Shannon asked you to think about a dream that has come true for you and to see how you have been transformed through the activity of going from dream to fruition. And my invitation for you today is to look and see how the world was also transformed through that activity of the divine. You weren't the only thing that changed, because you can't change and not have an impact on the world. So your dream coming to fruition might be something grand and glorious like Henry Landworth's, or it might have been something that just made you better, kinder, more loving, happier. But that better, kinder, more loving, and happier you impacts the world. I was really taken this whole week as I delved into Henry's story about how that pain body of his teenage years was turned into service for humanity. And I was watching several times this week. I watched Reverend Shannon's beautiful talk from last week. Please watch it if you haven't yet. And as I was watching her teach us about dreams and the alchemy of spirit, I was thinking quite often about how powerful it is when our pain turns outward in a good way. What do I mean by that? So often we turn our pain outward in negativity. So often our pain turns into lashing out or crankiness. It's me. It's me. So often our pain body comes out in unhealthy ways. But what Henry did is that a pain body outpictured as service. Do you remember last week Reverend Shannon shared one of her dreams? One of her dreams for this community, for us, is to pay off our building so that we have those funds open to do so much good in the world, right? But you see, that is Reverend Shannon's dream turned outwards. And there's something in the alchemy of spirit. There is something in the activity of the divine. Our personal healing is incredibly important. You know how important our personal healing work is. And there comes a point where all of that inner work, it's time to turn it outwards and see, how can this serve the world? When pain becomes service. When we surrender to love, the alchemy of spirit turns bitterness into gold, and all it takes on our part is willingness. A willingness to be changed. We show up willing, and God does the rest. And that's where the magic happens. You know, Henry didn't build that village alone. The Mercury 7 astronauts, contributed hugely to that, especially John Glenn. He was a big supporter of Henry's. Walt Disney contributed to that being built, even though Disney World wasn't opened until well after Give Kids the World. The Warner Brothers contributed to Give Kids the World Village. Something like, I have it here, SeaWorld contributed to Give Kids the World. 90 Orlando area hotels and other corporate sponsors contributed to Give Kids the World. In that first year, he granted just 329 wishes out of those adorable little villas. But he didn't do any of it alone. None of it. All of it, he had the courage to reach out with a handshake and a smile and say, "Come do this thing with me." And I was really struck by his generosity of spirit. I took a few minutes this week and just imagined if our world was populated with more people with that kind of generosity of spirit. But it's more than just generosity, it's courage. It takes courage. I realized that we don't get to decide what happens in another's heart, but we do get to decide what happens in ours. And if you have a pain body, if you have something in your past or something in your present that you experience as pain, I'm going to invite you into the willingness to have that transmuted and transformed by love. And if you don't know how to do that, if you don't know where to start, I have a couple of ideas for you. First of all, we have our class starting this week, Beyond Limits. This is a beautiful class taught by Reverend Shannon, and it teaches you the truth of who you are and the power that powers you, the power that enlivens you, the power that lives you. This class is a wonderful opportunity for you to begin to come to terms with that love that can transform your life. The other suggestion I'm going to make for you this week, if you are ready to be willing, there are some important questions that we can ask. Not how, not why. Why is the unimportant question because it's the unanswerable question. I will never be able to tell you why my family has been affected by medical trauma. I don't know why. There's no power in why, but there is great power in what. What good can come from this? What good can come from this? And if by chance you find yourself asking how can this pain be turned into good? The answer is really simple. The pain gets turned into good because of the love inside of you. It's already there. You were born with it. It has never, ever abandoned you. And it's perfect, and it is already there to do the work. That is the how. You bring the willingness, and Spirit is going to do the rest. Thank you for listening to my story about Henry Landworth this week. I hope that you were as inspired by his life as I have been. And I really want to invite you to just for a little bit of time this week to live in the question, what is ready to be transformed in my life so that I can serve the world? God is in it. God's right here in this village.